All right, everyone. Welcome back. Episode 2 of Backdoor Cuts. Obviously, today's a big day with the Barstool Invitational in Philly. Dukes is running out there. A bunch of people from the company are out there. So I had to call back an old friend, a guy I used to do a podcast with, Rob Dauster from Field of 68. What's going on?
Not much, man. I'm just glad that we're friends again.
I know. I mean, it was basically like Mike and the Mad Dog for us, where we just didn't talk except when we had to. It's not like I showed up to your house with my family. It's not like you were going to come to Cincinnati and stay at my house. I was going to take a golf. Yeah, I mean, I was going to run you over with my car.
Yeah, pretty much, man. No, it's good to be here. It's weird being on this side of it because normally, whenever we did the pod, I was the one hosting and setting everything up, and now you're hosting it. So it's a lot of pressure on you.
It is. It's. I don't like it. I do like just showing up for yours, where I just showed up with a beer and was like, "Yeah, what's up? What do you want to talk about?"
Yeah, well, it's 11 o'clock in the morning, so I'm still on the coffee, but
it's Friday though.
Yeah, we got about 2 hours.
Yeah, right. We got daytime basketball today. It starts at 1.
Exactly.
So again, premise of the show: quick 30 minutes. We're going to run through each day going forward, Tuesday and Thursdays at 11 a.m. This week was different, obviously, with Monday opening day. Today's the best slated day, best set of games this week. Going forward, it'll be Tuesday, Thursday, 11 a.m. until football ends. And then we'll go 3 times a week at least. But again, we're going to run through the games, best bets, any topics you have in the chat. And it's going to be me. Dukes is helping out. He's obviously in Philly. And then we're going to rotate through people to come on. This way we can get a bunch of different voices in here.
Not just my voice. You want more than my voice?
I know. Well, you're a busy man. I mean,
maybe one day you can get Vicini on here, but I don't think he's cool enough. He's like episode 17 material. He's not episode 2.
Vicini? No, Vicini would be. I mean, he's in Australia too. Like, is he even? I'd have to do it at like midnight.
Yeah, yeah. His schedule's all messed up.
That actually would be a delirious me and like a bushy-eyed Vicini, which he always is, and he just sounds like Charlie Kelly. That would actually be entertaining.
Yes, that would be entertaining.
Or just me shit-canned at like 1 a.m.
Yeah, that's actually what it would be, you know?
I'm shit-canned.
Yep, exactly. There's nothing better than podcasting when you're drunk.
Yeah, right. And we've done that before.
No, never.
Never.
I'm sober as a bird, Reags.
Obviously, we're going to touch on 3 games today before we get into the best bets. Barstool Invitational, again, you can check anybody's Twitter, the Barstool Sports Twitter account. We're broadcasting. We're doing our own event. First game, UAB Toledo. Second game, Akron, Mississippi State. I'm actually very interested in this, not just being a company man, but UAB Toledo might be the most entertaining game of the day. Obviously, Gonzaga, Michigan State, people will say is the best. You got, Temple Nova. You got a bunch of other games at Florida State, UCF. But in terms of, hey, I want to watch Friday night college basketball. I want to watch guys get up and down the court. This is going to be probably the one with the most possessions.
I mean, it'll be up there. If you haven't seen Jelly Walker play, you haven't seen
he's electric.
The Gaines kid play. Like UAB is a really, really fun team, and they're really good. And Toledo is probably right up there with them in terms of mid-major programs that can kind of make a run and make a little bit of noise. The thing that I love about Jelly Walker is we see this all the time with Andy Kennedy teams where he gets these guys that really can't do much other than just sprint around the court and fire up these wild off-balance threes. We saw it with it was Marshall Henderson would do it. And then who was the kid at Ole Miss? He had the Stephen Moody. Was that his name?
Oh, yeah, Stephen Moody. Yep. He wore like 42.
Yeah.
The worst number to wear for college basketball. Guard.
Oh, man. Come on. That's not a bad number. 42? For a guard? You got to differentiate yourself, Reags.
It's a horrendous number.
You got to differentiate yourself. No, but it's going to be fun. Jelly Walker is absolutely electric. And he's as good of a scorer and as good of a creator as you're going to find in the college basketball ranks. I mean, he started at Seton Hall. He's played in the Big East. I like UAB there.
I agree. And it's the one thing that you didn't mention about what Andy Kennedy's doing at UAB. He's bringing in high major transfers down to Conference USA. And I don't mean that in a derogatory statement. It's just you're grabbing out of Power 5 guys, a guy like KJ Buffin, who was at Ole Miss. You're grabbing Jelly Walker, who was at 2 other higher level schools from a conference standpoint. you're bringing these guys to UAB, and he's really good about getting these guys to gel pretty fast. We saw it last year. The other thing is, I really like Trey Jamison, their big guy.
Yep.
Like, it's when you look at this, yeah, it's gonna be up and down, but UAB can slow the pace if they want to. I think they can slow it better than what Toledo can do. And again, you almost got to play the over just because that's what you're cheering for, though.
Yeah, no, I think the over is actually the play because Toledo in the past has been a team that is ranked in like the top 75 in terms of tempo, and UAB isn't scared of getting up and down. The only thing that I would be concerned about is this is at Wells Fargo, right? It's at the NBA.
Yeah, it's
arena.
at Wells Fargo, which I was going to bring up is how do you feel about, hey, we're off campus, we're on an NBA arena. The rims should be soft.
Yeah, the rims will be fine, but it's more like the off-campus arenas. I'm always a little bit hesitant, like especially during the Thanksgiving tournaments, and like the NTEs. I always tend to lean a little bit towards the under in situations like this, where it's like, oh yeah, you got it at the over, simply because I think playing in, I don't know how many people are going to be there. If you can fill up the 20,000 seat arena, then that'll be like I'll be really, really impressed. So when you kind of play in a little bit of those like more sterile environments, you know what I mean? Like it's not like it's going to be, and even if you get 15,000 people in there, it's not like it's going to end up being the UAB fan base and the UAB student section going nuts. It's going to be a bunch of people sitting there watching the game. So that's the one thing that I'm a little bit concerned about is like slow starts. It might be a little bit cold in the building. These guys have never really played there before. And how often has Toledo played in an NBA arena?
Right.
How often has UAB played in an NBA arena? So that would be my only hesitancy for betting the over there. That goes for both games. But I think my play in the first game is UAB. I think that they're terrific.
Here's my counterpoint to that. Jelly Walker is from Jersey, New York. You know he's having 100 people show up to this game.
True.
I mean, Jelly Walker might take 40 shots.
Do you guys have a player prop on Jelly Walker's points total? That might be the play.
I have not been able to find it. Some states have it. It's weird state by state for us. So I have not seen it. But
if you can get it, go get it.
What do you think? What would you set it at?
Probably like 24 and a half.
Yeah, so he had 38 in game one, maybe like 27 and a half, something like that.
Who they play like Alabama State or something.
Yeah, but I'm saying, so he had 38 in game one. I'd probably play it up to 30.
Up to 30?
Because he's going to get shots. Like, there's going to be a ton of possessions.
I mean, I think he could do it. I don't think I'd play it up to 30.
I think I would.
Are you giving me a little extra juice on that?
Yeah, like I think the line would probably be like you said, 25 and a half, 24 and a half, right around his what would be his likely season average.
If you give me like plus 150,
yeah, right,
at like 29, yeah, okay, I dig it. I can see that.
Second game, Akron, Mississippi State -6, over under 128. Am I crazy for liking the mid-major and kind of the over in this one?
I think you're crazy for liking the mid-major.
Really?
I do. Yeah, I do. I think Mississippi State's actually good.
Like I know that too. I think Akron's really good too.
Yeah, but I know that they changed coaches, and I know that that Ben Howland got fired. But like, there's a lot of talent on that team, right? Like Tolu Smith is
really good.
Tolu Smith is a dude. DJ Jeffries is a 5-star who, like, I talked to Jans a bunch in the offseason. I know him pretty well, and like he was raving about this kid just being like bought in finally, right? Like this is DJ Jeffries was supposed to be a one and done. He was a 5-star. He's one of the most hyped kids when he was a freshman in high school.
Yeah, he was supposed to go to Kentucky, then Memphis, and then
it just never really worked out for him. And apparently he's really kind of bought into this concept of being like, look, I don't have to be the guy that gets 18 a night. I can go out there and be the guy that gets 12 a night and be the hardest playing player. And that makes a difference. And when you have the most talented dude on your team buying into a role like that, they also got a kid named Deshaun Davis who transferred in from Oregon State, who I think was like second in the Pac-12 in assists. They're good.
That alone at Oregon State is like worthy of All-American.
Yeah, right.
Because Oregon State sucked last year, and if you're getting assists, then you like I would have put him All-American.
Yeah, and we mentioned this, but like Mississippi State plays in the SEC. They've played in massive buildings, right? They've played in Rupp. They've played in Thompson Bowling Arena. They've played in some places where you can fit 18,000 people. Yeah, you fit 18,000 people in there. They've also played I'm sure in SEC buildings that are completely empty because there's a lot of times when half of those buildings just don't fit anybody in them, right?
Their own.
How many times have you ever played in Vanderbilt holds like what is it, Memorial Gym?
Memorial, yeah.
Coliseum, whatever it is, it holds like 15,000, and it's Vanderbilt, dude. Like if they're finishing last place in the SEC, how many people are they putting in there?
It's filled twice. When Tennessee comes,
you're muted again, Reags.
What's going on? I keep getting this. My internet's working fine. I said it's filled twice when Tennessee plays there and when Kentucky plays there because it's just those fans coming.
Yep. Yeah. So I mean, I really like Mississippi State there. That's a weird line. Why is it only 6? Is that a trap? It feels like a trap. Ken Palm has it at 6. That's got to be what it is.
I think Akron's guards are good enough to kind of hang around.
Okay, talk to me about it. Explain.
All right, so there's 2 ways to look at this. The over-under is 128, right? So if you think it's going to be this ugly game, you worry about Mississippi State's offense pulling away enough from Akron, right? Like if you think it's going to be ugly, if you think it's going to be the under, you're assuming that it's going to be a rock fight, and that keeps Akron hanging around. And then I also I love Akron's guards. I love Freeman. I always butcher his name. Castaneda. Tribble's really good, even though he butchered that layup against South Dakota State in game 1. But he did make the free throws in overtime. But my man, you can't miss that layup.
So lucky. He's so lucky.
You can't miss that layup.
He's so lucky they won.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, look, I get it. I hear what you're saying. They also played at home against South Dakota State, who didn't have Baylor Shireman, and it went to overtime. I guess, South Dakota State also went on the road and beat up on Boise State last night. So I guess, I don't know. I just think Mississippi State, I'm going to bet on the talent there. And I think Mississippi State has a talent advantage.
That's fair. I would say if you think it's going to be, say this correct? If you think it's going to go over, I would lean Mississippi State. If you think it's going to go under, I would lean Akron.
Not necessarily. I get the logic. Like this. I see what you're saying, and generally speaking, yes, I would kind of lean like if you think it's going to be lower scoring, then you kind of want to be on the side of the dog. But it's only 6 points, right? Like this could very easily be like a 4 or 5 point game where you see 2 fouls at the end and gets the free throws. I just lean Mississippi State here. I actually kind of like the over too.
It is so low that it's just like, again, if you think Akron can stick around and their guards play well, then they're going to score. So
how are they stopping Tolu inside? How are they slowing them down?
That's the question, right? They have to force turnovers from the guards,
mm-hmm.
which I'm not ruling out. Like they can get after the Mississippi State's guards enough. Again, if it's 128, Akron has to get 62 points and you're there.
Yep.
It's not crazy. It's not crazy. Michigan State Gonzaga. First off, I forgot this game was at 6:30. This is the aircraft carrier game. I thought this
good played earlier, man. Like
I thought it was going to be at like 10, and I'm like kind of upset about that.
Look, I have. Can I go on a little rant here?
Yeah, of course. Go ahead.
I think it is so dumb that in the year of our Lord 2022, we're still playing games outside on boats on the ocean. Like, have we not learned our lesson? How long in this game do you think is going to be before we start getting some condensation on the court and we see Drew Timme slipping and sliding all over the place?
Layup line.
Like there's so many ways that we can like honor the troops on Veterans Day and do what you need to be able to do and have like an event that's just as special where you played on like an army base.
Go do what Nova, Oklahoma did. Nova, Oklahoma, didn't they play out in Hawaii?
Yeah, go play it at it was the 75th anniversary of Pearl Harbor, and they played out there on the island. If you remember, by the way, Oklahoma beat the shit out of Villanova in that game, and then that was the year that Villanova beat them by 44 in the Final Four. Yeah, do something like that. Like playing on an aircraft carrier, you're asking for so much trouble. Like, you know what? Yeah, but know what else you could do? Then just don't play it on like a court, right? It's just the idea of playing a game at night when it gets cold and you know it's going to get condensation and you know there's going to be water on the court and you know it's going to start getting slippery. Like you're putting these kids at risk for no reason at all. Didn't we learn our lesson? Why do you think we stopped doing these things?
And it's also, I saw there's 7 to 8 mile per hour winds. That's going to impact shots. I don't care. Like you can set up everything you want. You get 7 to 8 mile per hour winds. I saw a stat. There's been, I think, 8 total threes made in the aircraft carrier games.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing?
if you're not, first of all, if you're not betting the under here, you're out of your mind.
Yeah, 147.5 on the Barstool.
Yeah, if you're not betting the under here, you're out of your mind. Two, I think that this leans so much in Gonzaga's favor.
Yeah.
You know why? You know what they're going to do? They're just going to throw the ball into Drew Timme. You know, it's not going to be bothered by any wind or like the boat rocking or anything happening on the ocean. Is Drew Timme shooting layups? That's all he's going to do.
Timme, it's Strother, it's Efton Reed. They have three guys that they can just say, all right, you're not leaving this like 6-foot radius.
Yeah, and
just rotate who you send down there.
Do we really think Matty Sissoko is going to have any chance to slow down Drew Timme? No, he's not. It's going to be a layup fest. It's going to be a layup fest. If you can, I don't know if you can get it. If you can get it like a Drew Timme player prop for over points. Yeah, like everything Gonzaga, everything under.
The one thing I wrote down was who stops Timme. Like I think you can bother Gonzaga's guards enough to where. Yeah, they're not getting to the rim right away and everything.
By the way, I'm looking at it right now. Drew Timme's player total or the points total prop right now is 18.5.
I would bet
like how much? Okay, let me deposit some more money. I'm going to put in a bet right now on it.
I would bet the over. But yeah, it's the aircraft carrier game. It's going to be played in the middle of the day, which it's just
but you want like if you're playing outside on a basketball court, like you want that.
Sure,
you kind of need that just to avoid like the court getting wet.
It's just everything about it just doesn't make sense. And we have history of this not working. So now here we go again. I don't know.
By the way, what did you say the total was?
147.5, Gonzaga minus 11.5.
If you can still get 147, do it because I just checked multiple different places. And the total's down to 142.
Yeah.
It's if you can get it. You can get it.
Jump on
you know what? I'm staying at that number. I'm staying away from it.
Yeah. So I wrote this down at about 9 a.m. this morning, 9:30 a.m. this morning. Actually, later than that. It was like 10:30 when I looked at it right before we hopped on, and it was still 147.5 on the Barstool Sportsbook. So if you can do it, I would jump on that for sure. All right, best bets. One best bet can be anything you want. I know exactly where I'm going today. Yeah.
All right. You go first.
I know I said last episode I took Marshall -5 because I was trying to fade teams without a head coach. Queens didn't have a head coach, so that didn't work. And I hate taking small road favorites, but I'm going back to it because I think Cal is just a terrible, terrible basketball team. Kansas State's -6.
At Cal?
Yes.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. I mean, you have a coaching advantage. I think Jerome Tang's an awesome coach. You have you probably have 4 of the top 7 players on the court at all times. If you're Kansas State.
Yeah.
We are like, they already got a game under the belt. We know that, Keontae Johnson's going to play. There was questions about how would he look coming back from the health scare? He's clearly going to play. They have enough depth. Why is it only 6? What am I missing here?
I don't think people have adjusted for what Kansas State could end up being this season. And I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, but they didn't really, did they blow someone out in the first game? I watched like the first half of it until Keontae Johnson scored. I don't remember what the final score was. So I think that's part of it as well. Kansas State and Sacred Heart and a couple other teams, like I had them kind of pegged as, you got to bet them no matter what happens, just blindly bet them early on in the season. Last night, it didn't work for Sacred Heart. They lost by like 60 at Rutgers. So maybe this isn't necessarily the most savvy play. But I agree with you. I like Kansas State in that spot.
Yeah. So they blew out UT Rio Grande Valley in game 1, 93-59.
Yeah. They got a kid named Naquan Tomlin who you're going to start hearing about a lot because he is a absolute freak of nature. So make sure you get some eyes on him.
Yeah, so that's my best bet. Kansas State -6. I hate taking small road favorites, but is anybody going to be at this Cal game? This kind of feels like this is going to be 142 people there. Cal, when's the last time Cal basketball was relevant? Jaylen Brown when they lost to Hawaii in the first round?
Yeah, they're not very good. You know what I like a lot actually? Houston on the road at St. Joe's, laying 21.5.
Yeah, somebody asked about that. Let me in the chat. I forget who it was, but I saw they wanted a take on that.
Yeah. So I don't think St. Joe's is good at all. I think that they could end up being the worst team in the Atlantic 10 this season. And the one thing that you don't want to do if you're playing against a good team is give up offensive rebounds and give up easy buckets and easy turnovers. And I just think that Houston is going to, like, that's all they do is they beat up on bad teams. So I really like Houston laying 21.5. That's a big number. It's an uncomfortable number, but Houston is very, 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 very good.
Maybe even look at a first half line. If you're scared about the 21.5, the first half line is probably like what, 12?
I'll bring it up right now.
13.
They don't have it.
All right. So if you, I would double check, look at first half line if you're scared of the 21.5. I agree, though. I mean, you said that game's at St. Joe's, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you even get like a little bit Jarris Walker going back home because he's from that area. St. Joe's is bad. You talk about a team that hasn't been relevant. Jameer Nelson, Delonte West, and that group ain't walking through the door.
Yeah, they're not very good. So, yeah, I really like Houston there.
So this brings me to my. So
can I give you another one? Can I give you another one?
Yeah, go ahead.
I know it's a Big 5 game, but Villanova is only even 5.5 against Temple. Temple just lost to, I can't remember who they lose to on the first night.
I'll
bring it up right now. They lost to Wagner. They lost to Wagner at home in overtime. And now they get Villanova at home. And I know Villanova is not going to have Justin Moore. It's unclear whether or not Cam Whitmore is going to end up playing, but I don't think it'll necessarily matter. Like, Caleb Daniels is a stud. Eric Dixon is a stud. Brandon Slater, I think we're going to see, especially early on in the season, going to be the guy that he was early on last season. He was so banged up by the end of the year. 5.5 against a team that just lost to Wagner. And look, I know everyone hears, Wagner, NEC champs. They lost their top 5 guys off the last
season.
And their head coach.
Gone. Yeah, Bashir's gone.
And their head coach. So, yeah, I like Villanova there.
All right, so from the chat, Clee112 wants thoughts on Charleston covering against UNC. UNC out-rebounded UNC Wilmington game 1. Offense looks a bit stagnant, learning to play with Nance. Yeah, I said it from the get-go. I don't think UNC is the best team in the country. I'm not surprised that night 1, the 3 teams that were expected to take the biggest jump from regular season to regular season, TCU, Creighton, UNC, didn't look the part. Like, they didn't look right or something. They all won. TCU barely won. Creighton pulled away late. UNC pulled away in the second half, but they didn't look. If I showed you those 3 teams and said, hey, here are 3 top 15 teams in college basketball, including the number 1 team that everyone thinks so, you would probably punch me. You would treat me like a Providence fan.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not that worried about North Carolina. That very much looked like a team that was playing their first game against an overmatched opponent after being ranked number 1 in the country, coming off of a run to the national title game where everybody on the roster got paid. Yeah, that's what it looked like to me. They walked in there like, hey, you know what? We could probably win this game. And frankly, I would not be surprised if there was like a similar reaction tonight playing against Charleston. The one thing I will say is this: we know North Carolina wants to run. I know that they're not necessarily running as much as they did under Roy, but they still want to run. Charleston finished last season top 10.
Charleston really wants to run.
Yeah, they want to run, and they're fine playing that game. And I know the over is a big number, and I think that it's been moving, but it's been moving up. But that's an interesting spot. That's an interesting spot if you want to back the over there. Let's put it like this: if you think that Charleston is going to be able to hang with North Carolina, it's going to be because they scored 75 plus points. Fair? If they score 75 plus points, then all you need is 85, 86 out of North Carolina, and that number will cover the total.
My only fear is what we saw offensively from North Carolina in game 1, where not a lot of made buckets, next to 0 assists, which take with a grain of salt. But what made them so good in March was they were able to spread people out. You had Manic. Manic is, I think, a way better fit for this team than Nance. Nance might be a better player, but I think Manic and what he was able to do in those mismatches he created is a way better fit. And that opened up everything for Baycott. Then you had Love and Davis getting more consistent.
I still
question how consistent they can be. I question how consistent the guards can be.
You're absolutely right about that. We don't after what we saw throughout of all like last regular season, there's no reason to sit here and just blindly trust them the way that you would like a Gonzaga during the regular season. But I do think like Pete Nance is going to be fine, dude. Like he can
I'm not saying
really,
he's
really
bad. I
shoot.
just
He
think
can
Manic's a
defend.
better fit.
Yeah, but he'll be fine. He's not going to need shots. It just to me, that first performance against Wilmington was more like, okay, this is North Carolina. They got to kind of realize, hey, look, you know, we're going to get everybody's best shot now. So I'm not super worried about them. But like I said, I think the over is the play in this spot.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't want to lay a number like that in terms of backing UNC. Charleston, like they're as much as we say that they can get up and down the court, like they could easily get shut down by UNC's transition defense or just get run completely out of the court. Like there are times where yes, the matchup makes sense and they play a similar style, and the team with more talent that has clear better talent just does everything better, and you're getting one bucket for every three that they get.
Right.
So that's a fear. Yeah, I would probably play the over because again, it's going to be a track meet. It's just a matter of getting buckets.
Yeah.
All right.
That is a big number. It is a big number.
Another interesting game tonight. San Diego State -10 against BYU. Cougs almost lost Idaho State 335 Ken Palm. They turn it over a ton. Aztecs team turns over with their guard spear death revenge game. Crowd is going to be bananas. I think me and you were both the highest I saw on San Diego State coming into the year. Or at least out of your all. I don't know who like what was.
Yeah, the guys in the almanac, they're all over.
We both had them at 13.
Yeah, I think that they're going to be really good. Adding the Tramble kid from Seattle is going to be a big difference maker and take a lot of pressure off Matt Bradley. You know they're going to be able to guard.
Plus you have Mensa at the rim.
Yeah, 10.5 is just
10, not a half, just 10.
That's still like a big number in what pretty much amounts to like it's. I know it's not like necessarily a rivalry, but there's still a little bit of bitterness as a couple of old Mountain West rivals. Everyone remembers like the Jimmer versus Kawhi years.
Shout out versus network.
Yeah, and so I still have questions about San Diego State offensively, and I like laying 10 points in a game where San Diego State could very well end up scoring like in the high 50s or low 60s against a very, very well coached BYU team is scary to me, man. I probably would lean BYU here, but it's kind of a stay away because I don't think BYU is very good. I just would not be comfortable back. That's a big number. That number's too big for me.
So I agree it's a stay away, but I'm monitoring what this line does over the next, let's say, 3 hours or so. Because if that gets to single digits, I'm taking San Diego State because they're better offensively this year because of Darian Trammell while still keeping that defense. And they have the right role players around them. Again, like it is a home game. San Diego State home games are like that's a real home court advantage. I think that matters. And yes, BYU returns a couple pieces, but they lost a lot from last year.
Let me ask you this: how low does the total have to get in Michigan State Gonzaga before you jump on the over?
That's a good question. 100.
If it gets under 140, I was
about to say 139.5 is probably what makes sense.
If it gets under 140, I'm gonna take the over. Because
right around there.
The more that I think about it, both of these teams want to run. Both of them do. Like Gonzaga's entire offense is built around transition and Drew Timme getting up and down the floor, right? Everything that Michigan State does is about getting out and running. And I know that we have questions about Michigan State's guards. Like there's one thing that we know about Gonzaga is that they're not built on getting stops, right? Like you have Drew Timme as your 5-man. Their best lineup is probably going to be 3 of the guards, Strother at the 4, and Timme at the 5. And like, what kind of rim protection are you getting?
None.
What kind of ball screen defense are you getting? So
ball screen defense is interesting, depending what
because it came down. It's at 141.5 now. So like the line. I'm gonna let that thing drop, and I'm gonna grab it. If it gets under 140, I'm gonna grab it.
Yeah, I think 140 is the number. I was going to say like 141, 141 and a half, and just because then you're hoping, okay, can Gonzaga get to 75 and you have a shot at it? But if it's 139 and a half, Gonzaga gets to 75, you're hitting that.
Yep.
All right. Well, 30 minutes. Rob, thanks for coming on. Again, check out the Barstool Sports Invitational. You can watch it anywhere that we are. Tickets are, I believe, still on sale. You can grab them if you're in the Philly area. Rob smartly had other people do the almanac for him. So check out Field of 68 and buy the almanac. It's worth it. I used it a lot when I was doing my rankings. Rob, I'll talk to you later.
Later, Reags.
See ya.